Okay, well, hope everything looks good. I guess start from the beginning. When I was growing up, I grew up Catholic. Always followed Catholic traditions. I went to church every Sunday. The parents took me to confession. I had communion. I mean, I went to a Catholic school. Was slapped by nuns all the time. I was kind of a rambunctious little kid, always trying to prove something. And that just transpired into my grown up life. Uh, Teenager, went to college, still trying to prove something to who I don't know. Always had wild hair, the craziest trends, did all kinds of destructive, troublesome things through my life. When uh, when I graduated from college, I got a motorcycle. Well, I had motorcycles all growing up. I had like 18 motorcycles through my life, mini bikes, everything. Was always getting them taken away by the police when I was a young kid. So kind of gives you a little bit of history of my ability on where I was, what I was trying to prove, who I was. When I turned, I don't know, 20, 21, 22, I bought a GPZ 750 turbo, fastest production bike made in the world at the time. Do 9.5 second quarter mile. It was just a beast. Took it out. I had 1,300 miles on it. Just finished breaking it in, so I was just gonna give her hell. And I had full riding leathers on. Went down basically Ward Parkway. If any of you are familiar with that, came down where the bowling alley used to be on the south side. Came down from State Line to Ward Parkway, turned that corner. This was about 1:30 in the morning. Touched my knee on the ground, straightened the bike up, brought the front wheel off the ground, set it back down, and boom, I was gone. Passed a small little pickup truck, and all of a sudden I realized I couldn't stop. The bike just kept exponentially speeding up faster and faster and faster. All this happened in a matter of a tenth of a second. All I saw was the curb coming up. I couldn't lean the bike over because it was like a gyroscope. It just kept picking up speed. Um, I saw the small turn coming. Usually you can lean into a turn. Again, couldn't lean. And again, this is all happening in like a tenth of a second. Um, I was doing about 115 at that point in time. I remember looking down at my speedometer briefly for just a glimpse, and the curb was coming up. I saw a row of trees. The trees were about 30 feet apart. And at that particular point in time, all I could think about was shooting between the trees. I had a 5 foot gap. I hit the curb, which was kind of a square curb. This was right across the street from TGI Fridays at Ward Parkway. Don't know if it's there anymore. I don't go over that way. The bike jumped the curb. I sideswiped a tree. It smashed the handlebars off the bike. My foot, the foot peg, my foot was smashed against the foot peg as I sideswiped the tree. I had steel toed riding boots on. The steel toes just kind of crushed, came down and just ripped all my toes off my foot. At that particular time, it launched me forward. I flew through the air like Superman. Um, I hit the tree, which apparently knocked me unconscious temporarily. Um, I the exhaust pipe came off this side of the bike. It flew on that side of the tree, stuck in this guy's house, knocked a couple plants off a shelf, rang a doorbell, kind of woke the neighborhood up. After I flew off into the wild blue yonder, whatever you want to call it. I had my arms out. I landed flat on my stomach, slid across a yard, a driveway, another yard. The bike went ahead, hit two other trees that were 30 feet apart, and then smashed into a light pole, and then flew across the median, or flew across Ward Parkway into the median. There was parts of my bike scattered forever, and the bike kind of exploded because it just wrapped out. After I hit the ground, I woke up, and apparently I was in shock, didn't feel any pain. All I could think about was I just made my first payment on this motorcycle, and it's like, here we go. I'm freaking out. So just had waxed her all up. I ran across the street, which was really kind of weird because I couldn't run. One foot down, the other foot I was trying to push, but the end of my shoe was flopping around and there was no toes. So I was kind of digging the stump of my foot into the ground as I tried to propel myself across the street. Got across the street, got to my bike, looked down at my foot, and there was just blood squirting out of the end of it. And I passed out and shock, whatever. I woke up and there was a man standing there. And I said, "Hey, can you help me? I need to make a tourniquet. I think I'm going to bleed to death." He said, "I don't know how to make a tourniquet, but I will sit here and I will hold your leg till the ambulance comes." So he sat across both of my knees and squeezed my upper thigh. And at that point in time, I said, "How bad is it?" And he goes, "Don't worry, it's okay. It's not your time." Every time I say that, I get chills up and down my spine, and it'll make sense here in a little bit. But I can't really remember the exact man's facial features. I remember steel blue eyes, just long hair, very calming man. Couldn't even tell you what he was wearing. And he sat there and just at that moment in time, I just was completely calm and just laid there, which seemed like about a minute. But apparently it was over 20 minutes before the ambulance came, from the time I hit the tree or laid on the ground until the ambulance got there. Um, at that point in time, police cars pulled up. People had come across the street from the bar because the bar was still open. Cars were stopping because they couldn't get past all my parts on my bike. And then the EMTs started running towards me, had their stretcher in hand, their bags, whatever, and I could just see them out of the side of my eye running towards me. He stood up, said, "Don't worry, it's not your time." And he walked right past them and disappeared into the lights. I asked the paramedics as they're working on me, "Where'd that guy go?" They said, "There was no guy. You've been laying here by yourself." I said, "No, there was a man. He walked right past you. I saw him. I mean, you guys almost bumped shoulders." And they said, "Nope, there was no person." And I said, I don't know what to say, but there was a man. He stood here and he helped me." And then I could hear them talking to their dispatcher that he's delirious, he's in shock, he's lost a lot of blood. And then I started talking all their medical stuff, and then I just kind of zoned out. And next thing you know, I was in the hospital. That was my first experience with being saved. That was an angel. Still believe it to this day. When I talk about it, and even after talking to the paramedics and different people that stopped by to see me because they couldn't believe I wasn't dead after that. I didn't have a scratch on me other than my toes were. My hands hurt a little bit from breaking off my handlebars, but not even a scratch, not a scuff, not a bruise, just my toes were gone. And they just said there was nobody there. And to this day, I know that was an angel. I asked myself for the longest time, because you get a lot of time to think, well, because I was in the hospital for a month, couldn't walk for 3 months. They had to boil my foot in a Hubbard tank and peel out all the rocks and sticks and everything else that had ground down into my foot. They talked about cutting off my foot. Had to cut off my big toe because it was only held on by a muscle. And then at that particular point, I just I knew. I I knew something, that there was a higher purpose for me in my life. Being a Catholic, somewhat religious, I would call it at that point in time. Believed in God, but didn't practice anything, didn't follow the Bible, just did the traditional Catholic muscle memory, go kneel, pray, go to church. But I had adopted the philosophy that if I could make one person a day smile, I was having a good day, and that was the purpose that I was saved, to just bring joy to people. And I adopted that philosophy and held strong to that for many, many years. Always was kind of a jokester. Um, and then jump forward to 2021, COVID hit. Lost my job. They shut down our building, thanks to our great mayor in Kansas City, Missouri. Um, and had lots and lots of time to just self-reflect, staying in the house. My wife's company was still open, so she went to work, and I just sat in the house. Just, I don't know, talking to God, asking God what's going on, what is my purpose, and never really had a really good, firm connection to Jesus. Um, I knew Jesus, but Jesus didn't really know me. I didn't know how to pray. I just had conversations. Um, and at that point in time, I said, there's got to be something more. I got to find something to do. There's got to be a men's group, something online. Um, just happened to stumble across something online. It was Nexus Church. They were having a men's group and coffee in the morning, something. And I said, hey, I'm going to check this out. So I signed up, jumped in my car really early one morning, and it was completely dark outside. I like to get places at least a half hour early, was still nervous, didn't know what I was getting into. And as I'm driving, there's no one around, and this little car pulls up beside me. I look over, couldn't really make out anybody in the car, just kind of doing my checking things out, being aware of my surroundings. The car then took off from the light, pulled ahead of me, and on his license plate, it read the dark side, not the dark side, but it read dark side. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of ominous, and didn't really think too much about it. Every turn that I made, that car made the same exact turn and stayed in front of me the whole entire time. Right when I got to where the church was, my GPS said you need to take a left. That car sped off really quick. I took a left, turned into the parking lot, and just had a really kind of weird feeling. I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't scared. I wasn't nervous. I knew I was supposed to be there. Um, Waited. I recall that there was like 12 guys that ended up showing up. And one of the gentlemen that sat down next to me was James. We know James, he's in our group, and he kind of friended me, has with his big smile. I mean, I think uh, Mike calls it his 10-pound smile, but he had a big smile. Everybody asked me, to share why we were here. I kind of shared a little bit of my story, lost my job, so on and so forth. Mike, no, Mike, James friended me, made me feel comfortable. Actually told me I should get I have a Bible, but it's a King James version. He said there might be one a little bit better. I felt like I wanted a new one. He gave me his phone number. I reached out to him and bought a new Bible at, uh, I forget what the name of the Christian bookstore is up here on Metcalf. And basically, at that particular point in time, I would say I was born again. And after that day, I just really had a really good connection with Jesus. He speaks to me daily. I don't hear this thunderous voice that comes out. There's no burning bush. I have coffee. I sit in silence and I have a communication with him. I have a relationship. I know Jesus now. He knows me. Part of what I feel is being in Christ is your new man has to die. I think Paul's the one that talks about pneuma, um, that you have to go through that transition, that revelation, that spiritual death before you can go to the next level and become closer to God. And at that point in time, um, it's just that was the beginning of my journey. I was on fire then. Everywhere I went, I had to save everybody. I had to save my kids. I had to save my wife. I had to save everybody. I was the burning bush. I was what we all call on fire. But uh, I started making posts every day on Facebook of how much I've changed and what's going on in my life. And every one of my friends seemed to turn against me, turn away from me. He's a holy roller. He's this, that, and the other. So lost a lot of close connections with people. I think there's a proverb out there, leave the 99 to go save the one. I thought that was my mission. Kept typing up these big long diatribes, and if anybody knows me or you follow me on Facebook or watch, I do have a website now that I'm starting a blog. um, I tend to go into great detail about what's going on in my life for that day and that moment. And when I have my what I call coffee with Christ in the morning, something happens out of that conversation, which sets the tone for the day. Everything that happens in that day comes forward as an event. There might be, I can't give you an example, but whatever I happen to be praying about and what Jesus puts on my heart for that day, it shows up all through the day. Somebody else may have the same uh, question or trial or tribulation, or I might see a billboard, or I'll hear that song with the words in it. Just all kinds of things that point me to, hey, God's here. He's listening. He knows what you want and who you are. Um, he's there for all of us. And so with that, um, that's what I call my spiritual awakening, my transformation, becoming a new creature in in God, in Christ. I have, we're a spirit with a soul in a body made in the image of Christ. Um, and people think that, hey, you got to save everybody. So that's what I did. For the longest time, I was that crazy holy roller Bible thumper guy, and it didn't work. Um, I I typed up, and one day, um, my conversations went to a different place, and he was like, "Hey, um, you keep talking about yourself, and it's been great for a while. Your journey has been great. It's great sharing your journey, but at the same time, um, it's not about you. It's about me." And I was like, "Whoa, okay, I don't understand, but yeah, I get it." And so I continued to type about me again. And it takes me half an hour, maybe more, to type up a big long diatribe of my situation and of the day. And I went to post it and it disappeared. It was gone. I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? And I kept trying to find it, see if it had auto saved, and it did not. And normally I type it in like Word or something so that I have it, and then I post it on Facebook. Well, it didn't even do an auto recovery. So I went through the whole process again and typed it all up again. And then I said, Lord, what is going on? He said, you're not listening to me. And I said, yes, I am. I'm here for you. He said, no, you're not. You're here for yourself. Um, you're you're focusing on wanting attention for yourself, not for me. And he goes, you don't get it. And it took me a moment. It's like a real eye awakening shocker. And I'm like, okay, um, so what's next? And he goes, just be quiet, have peace, be gentle. You don't need to be on fire. And at that particular point in time, I didn't quite realize it till later on when we had many of these meetings through our men's group. I realized what he was saying and what the mission, so to speak, that I was tasked with. And it's not about being on fire. And I'll give you an analogy. If there's a forest fire, are people going to run into the forest fire if you're standing on the other side yelling? No. They're going to be real hesitant. They don't want to get burned. They're scared. There's all kinds of emotions running through them at that time. But if you're sitting over at a campfire roasting some marshmallows, you're like, hey, hey, you, come on over, sit down, let's have a marshmallow. It's a lot more inviting. You reach a lot more people that way. So instead of being this warrior for faith, I became a farmer of faith, and it's about planting seeds. So I plant mustard seeds. Another great I don't know analogy. It's one of the smallest seeds there are, and it grows into this big gigantic tree. But mustard seed of faith, and I plant those seeds. People know me; they know what I am. I display my faith uh, very proudly. Scream from the top of a mountain if I have to, but it's subtle. I plant that seed and be impressed or amazed at the people that will come to you when they're in time of need or they need to have something, and you'll have a crying moment with somebody who's going through something really difficult. They know that they can confide in you. Hey, you're a you're a Christian man. You're a you believe in God, and that's how I minister to people um, through mustard seeds, becoming a farmer of faith. That's kind of my story. Um, I recently, oh, let me uh, let me grab one here. I don't know if this thing's gonna follow me, but I got a whole jar of these little guys. I should have. Let me see. Will it pick me up again? Nope. Here I am. Come on. Okay. I think it's got me now. I got a whole jar of these guys, and I found this to be kind of fun. They're little Jesuses. You guys have probably seen them. And I have lots of people that have trouble at work. They'll be working on a project, something's going on, and they'll be frustrated and they're cussing. And I'm like, hey, you need a little Jesus in your life. And I pull one of these out of my pocket and I hold it up to them. And they just immediately smile and start laughing because it's kind of a pun. Little Jesus. Here, you need a little Jesus in your life. Sometimes they'll take it, sometimes they won't. But it's a it's kind of an icebreaker. So I don't know. That's kind of my story. Um, that's kind of what I got to say. I don't know if anybody's got any questions or um, want to open it up for discussion. But yeah, I didn't see any big light. There wasn't a big tunnel. I do think I died for a moment, but either way, God, God saved me, and He gave me a mission, and my mission is to spread His word and be a good Christian. And that's what I'm trying to do. So recently, I've just set up a website called jefftrester.net. I've kind of put my journey in there, um, and I'm gonna keep doing a daily blog. I've kind of tried to get away from Facebook. I had so many different things. Kind of give you one more little thing. I just thought of it. Woke up with a dream, crying. Um, God said, "You need to write some songs." Hell, I don't know how to write any songs. So I said, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, just write some songs." So I started writing songs. I don't sing them. I use AI to put music to them. But I created a little side company called Kingdom Songworks. Um, it's on YouTube. Probably got 20, 30 songs now so far. I don't know. That I took my daily journeys, things that I wrote, because I've been writing all this down since 2021 and created a book. It's not anything for anybody to read. It's just private journal more than anything. Someday I might throw it out there, but I call it, my journey, uh, Man on Fire. And I take these little excerpts out of my book, little chapters, and I write a song about it. Then I started writing a song about um, the Bible. And I started with Genesis. I worked through the book of Genesis. I worked through the book of Exodus, and then I started on Leviticus. And so there's some fun little songs. They're country. Yeah, check them out. They're on my YouTube channel. But if you want to find out everything about what I talked about and kind of follow me, Jeff Trester, JEFFTRESTER.net, and you can kind of see all my stuff out there. Kind of trying to build it. I built a website about probably 2 weeks ago, and trying to work through it. Gonna maybe put together a podcast. Me and a buddy talk about two guys talking about their trials and struggles in life as their journey with Christ. So anyway, that's what I got.